Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. Kamala lost because of Kamala. That is the subject of today's show. You know, I really thought that someone on the left would write this. I've been saying this, the true story of how Kamala Harris lost the presidential race. I thought that they would be so angry with her for losing to Trump that they would be clamoring to write the in-depth piece on how she blew it, you know, like journalists. Silly me. I thought we'd get to read all the juicy details about how this well-known bully who lost 92% of her staff as vice president because no one could stand working for her was impossible to manage, wouldn't take advice, couldn't execute prepared strategies, was too paralyzed with fear to make decisions, except for the big one that she did make, which was to pick Tim Walz as her running mate, which turned out to be an absolute disaster. But so far, nothing. There's really been only a couple of lame pieces, and none have really gone in depth behind the scenes. Maybe it'll still happen. But truly, what's happened so far is it's been mostly she lost because of racism and sexism, and maybe because of Joe Biden. We are being spoon-fed a bunch of nonsense. Oh, what a change. About how Kamala Harris hit all of her marks. I mean, you can't be mad at her. She hit all of her marks. These are lies. Maybe it's just easier for them to blame Joe Biden. He's the white guy who stayed too long and was far too infirm. I guess he's not going on Mount Rushmore anymore. I remember Nancy Pelosi. No, so it's a no. Or maybe it is because this is the Democrat Party and you don't blame problems on black women, period. It doesn't matter how terribly they have behaved. I give you Donna Brazile, who cheated on a presidential debate and now has had not one, but two contractor or contributor deals with network news, Fox and now ABC. It's unbelievable. Sure, some white man would have the same deal, right? The way Joy Reid has survived, despite the anti-gay slurs all over her blog, her lies about how she'd been hacked and the FBI was investigating. So weird how that never went anywhere. And now years of open, abject hatred of whites. They're fine with that. I don't know exactly the reasons why they're not doing it or whether they will do it. I'm still an optimist at heart, I guess. But look, before we close this chapter in presidential history and say, sayonara, Kamala, I decided we need to take an honest look back. So here goes. From the start, it was very important that we get her name right.
Confusion is understandable. Disrespect is not. What are you here to do?
To teach you how to say your auntie's name.
Okay, so how do you pronounce it?
First you say comma like a comma in a sentence. Then you say la like la 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 la.
Put it together and it's 1, 2, 3, Kamala.
Oh my God, is inflation lower yet? I mean, they devoted portions of the Democratic National Convention to this. And then if you did not get her name right after you'd received the lesson, you were racist. Just ask Nancy Mace.
When you disrespect Kamala Harris by saying you will call her whatever you want, I know you don't intend it to be that way. That's the history and legacy of white disregard for the humanity of black people.
Oh, so now you're calling me racist.
I didn't say. I just said you weren't a
BS.
racist.
That is complete.
No, you don't have to intend racism to
No,
accomplish.
you are.
Get your name
And
right.
Kamala Harris. If
Kamala.
I were a man,
You said
I
this.
will
We don't call you
say
Nancy
anything
Mace.
that I want.
It's
Come on,
Kamala.
Kamala. You're doing this on purpose, Congresswoman.
That's disrespectful.
Just a second.
Okay. Helpful articles were written explaining that mispronouncing someone's name is a microaggression, an effort to disparage them, a disrespect rooted in the racist tradition of othering black people in subtle but meaningful ways. Even though it's routinely done to white people as well, like Matt Gaetz and Demi Moore, Ralph Fiennes, Steve Buscemi. Here's MSNBC's Nicole Wallace this week pretending while on air not to know how to pronounce or even spell that pesky Pete Hegseth's name.
Or the Fox Weekend guy whose name what is his name? What?
Pete Hegseth. Heg. Can I get a spelling? Hegseth?
She's such a faker. She's such a faker. God, she's inauthentic. But yeah, look, here's the kicker. Even well-known Democrats pronounced Kamala Harris's name wrong.
Kamala Harris spoke to me that day.
Our leader, Kamala, and asked them, how can I help you? We need Kamala Harris, the president of joy, to lead us.
Kamala said, we're all closely monitoring the storms.
Kamala. Al Sharpton, Bill Clinton, Joe Biden. I guess they didn't get the memo. I guess they weren't there when the little girls talked about their auntie. They're racist too, or is it just Nancy Mace because she's a Republican? So in any event, that's how things kicked off. Everyone is racist for mispronouncing her name, except for all the Democrats who can't pronounce her name either. But you're not supposed to notice that. Knowing that she has an unattractive personality, Kamala Harris's team tried hard to rebrand her when she first launched as not painful, but as brat, the meaning of which nobody knows.
Charlie XCX, who I do know, quote, brat, you're just that girl who is a little messy and likes to party and maybe says some dumb things sometimes.
Very cool. I'm sure that messenger really communicated to the young folks when she told them she is brat. So the message for voters is she's not awkward. She's not off-putting. She might be dumb, but she's actually the cool wine aunt you love to hang with at Thanksgiving. Absolutely perfect for the presidency. Everything about her had to be made over, you see, because the public spent 4 years watching her and had come to deeply dislike this woman. In June 2024, this past June, a majority of Americans had an unfavorable view of her. For over 40%, it was very unfavorable. The most important rebrand to start with her makeover, the cackle. Oh, God.
High five!
Wow.
Okay, I can first.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It's not a cackle, they told us. It's joy.
This joy, this campaign of infectious and dynamic joy.
Tear these two very positive, joyful, energetic people down. Embrace the joy, which you see them doing. There's a lot of joy, a lot of optimism out of the box.
The vice president has spoken to this eloquently with great joy, great enthusiasm. And joy, I think, is a great word because you can see this in Tim Walz.
This week for Democrats has been, not to overuse this word, such a joyful one.
And just in case you weren't convinced and you actually think she does cackle, her cackle's amazing. It's amazing, and it's just being weaponized against her.
Your opponent and Republicans have at times weaponized you laughing. And what do you make of Republicans using that as a way to suggest that you're not a serious candidate?
There's sometimes when your adversaries will try and turn your strength into a weakness. Don't you let them.
Get off Kamala Harris's dick about her laugh. And number two, get rigorously honest with yourself and go get some therapy and talk about how clearly you have such a hard time wrapping your head around the idea of a smart, successful, self-made, confident woman who is able to easily and frequently find and express joy.
Tale of two tickets. One radiates joy. The other is dour and frankly frightening. And this is how you know the Republicans are freaking out about it. Vice President Kamala Harris is criticized for her race, gender, and parental status, but also for laughing. As if an infectious, energizing belly laugh, the literal display of joy, is a bad thing?
Infectious and energizing. Whole think pieces were written, like this one from The Atlantic entitled Kamala Harris and the Threat of a Woman's Laugh, which told readers Trump doesn't really laugh. He smirks. He bares his teeth silently. Bares his teeth, I say. He's a rabid dog, you see. Kamala, according to The Atlantic, well, her laugh is wholesome. It's honest. It's human. In fact, they write, quote, criticism of emotional expression has long been a weapon of choice for those wanting to cut down women in political power. Criticism of her laugh is weaponization, they say. Trump, you see, is rabid with bare teeth. Kamala is wholesome. And disagreement means you're just threatened by an honest woman. In sum, she does not cackle. She is joyful and also wholesome and honest and human, and you're sexist. We're off to a banger start. At first, she was tightly controlled. Obviously, there would be no interviews. But some big decisions were required before the Democratic National Convention, like deciding who would step into her shoes if she were incapacitated as president. She later explained, on that one, she went on instinct.
What's the last time you had to make a gut decision? This here is very prescribed, very controlled.
Yeah. Probably the biggest gut decision I've made most recently is to choose my running mate. Yeah.
Yeah. So what did her gut get us?
You are the dancing queen, young and sweet, only 17. Dancing queen.
Oh, God.
Feel the beat from the tambourine. You can dance, you can die, having the time of your life.
Nicely done, Debbie Murphy. Let's be honest. He looked a little familiar.
Come on down. Not
Yeah.
fall on down.
The listening audience knows that was clips from The Price is Right. Or maybe it wasn't The Price is Right. Maybe it was this. It's Chris Farley. It was a little bit awkward, but maybe it was just his physicality, like the jerky, herky motions. But maybe the guy was a really effective orator.
Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's always been about that.
Oh, well, not the best message for your VP choice, but okay. It promptly came out that Tim Walz was a radical leftist. The man who was supposed to win over Midwestern working class men for Kamala had mandated tampons in the boys' bathrooms and made his state a sanctuary for underage kids claiming to be another gender who wanted to castrate and sterilize themselves. A story so extreme that many did not believe it, but it was true. Turns out the insult Walz hurled at Republicans that caught Kamala Harris's attention in the first place and led to her making him her VP running mate was no more than a mere projection.
These are weird people on the other side. They want to take books away. They want to be in your exam room. That's what it comes down to. And don't, get sugarcoating this. These are weird ideas. Listen to them speak. Listen how they talk about things. Listen to how your previous guests were right. Like you said, they've told them that they shouldn't talk about race. They can't help it. It is built into their DNA because there is no plan.
Tim Walz also lied a lot, a couple dozen times at least, about his inflated military rank. He was not a retired command sergeant major. Where he served in combat, he did not serve in Iraq or Afghanistan, as he led people to believe. Lied about in what context he served. It was not in combat, as he later claimed, and about many, many other things. We hosted some of the National Guard members who served with Tim Walz.
And I called him a deserter also because he left his post, he left his duty station, and he walked off into the sunset. I say slithered a lot of times, that he slithered out of the armory, but he walked into the sunset, never turned around, never had any intention of ever coming back to the military. He was gone, and because I've got better things to do.
I mean, what would you like to see him do?
Apologize.
Didn't happen. He lied about being a head coach, which he wasn't, using IVF, which he didn't, receiving a commendation from the Chamber of Commerce, which he didn't, being in China when the Tiananmen Square massacre took place, which he wasn't, his son was witnessing a mass shooting, which he didn't, and much, much more. It was clearly a problem, and pretty soon we stopped seeing much of Tim Walz on the campaign trail, whose daughter, by the way, has thoughts on the election.
I've officially reached a point of anger, and I'm not an angry person, so I'm just trying to channel it. The first one being, this country does not deserve Kamala Harris. That woman should go live her best life wherever she wants, doing whatever she wants, because we don't deserve her at this point. The only people that delivered this election were Black women, and we failed them. And it's just heartbreaking, and we've got to do whatever we can to support them and support our people through these next 4 years. These people have to live in their own skin, as in J.D. Vance and Donald Trump have to be J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. And that is not a punishment I would wish upon anybody except those two individuals. So I'm just really grateful that I am who I am and that I'm on the side of love and hope and joy and progress.
Oh, nice. I mean, I think it's fair to say the joy is gone. It's gone. We've kind of changed our messaging, but you know what? Good luck to you in your future endeavors. So the Kamala campaign, at this point in our story, had tried Brat and Joy and kept mostly under wraps, putting her out only in highly controlled, scripted settings like the Democratic National Convention or at rallies with a teleprompter. But there was still the matter of her radical policy statements from 2019 when she first ran for president. She wanted to ban fracking, to eliminate private health insurance, to ban meat, to ban gas cars, to ban and confiscate guns. She wanted to mandate taxpayer-funded sex change procedures for prisoners and illegals. She thought the wall was a stupid vanity project. She was open to reparations. My God, where to begin with the cleanup? Fracking, that's as good a place as any. Pennsylvania is a must-win state, and they love fracking. So reversing that position is a no-brainer. Soon, we received unsigned paper statements from rando campaign spokespeople saying Kamala disavowed her position on fracking. Oh, and also on banning private health insurance. Fracking ban? Who ever heard of a fracking ban?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
Oh, wait. What? Do not believe your lying ears, unnamed spokesperson claimed. It's not so. Getting rid of private health insurance? What kind of a nutcase would ever propose that?
To reiterate, you support the Medicare for All bill, I think initially co-sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders. You're also co-sponsor on it. I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it?
Well, listen, the idea is that everyone gets access to medical care. And you don't have to go through the process of going through an insurance company, having them give you approval, going through the paperwork, all of the delay that may require. Who of us has not had that situation where you got to wait for approval and the doctor says, well, I don't know if your insurance company is going to cover this? Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
Yeah, that's worked out beautifully for our friends up north in the evil top hat Canada. She's over it. Trust me, said rando spokesperson via paper statement. Other positions were not expressly reversed, but her language around them became very, very different. Gun bans and mandatory gun buyback programs? Oh, hell no. Reinvented Kamala is a 2A, NRA, gun-toting kind of gal. She's the Dana Lash of Canada. She's Serpico.
You want to play games? Okay. I'll play with you. Come on. Okay. Do you want to play rough? Okay. Say hello to my little friend. You want to play rough? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yolanda.
That wasn't Al Pacino. That was the reinvented Kamala Harris. On cops and immigration, she also sounded very, very different from 2019 Kamala. Kamala didn't really bail rioters out of Minnesota prisons. Yeah, she did. And she wasn't really soft on the border or on ICE. Yeah, she was. In fact, she was the only candidate in this race that has prosecuted transnational gangs and criminals in a border state. In other words, ain't gonna be no border trouble in this here town, little missy. Sheriff Kamala Harris had arrived.
Well, here's my word. Get the hell off my spread. Now, get down off them horses. I don't favor looking up to the likes of you. If you say 3, mister, you'll never hear the man count 10. Every time you turn around, expect to see me. There's one time you'll turn around and I'll be there. Understand? Anything goes wrong, anything at all. Your fault, my fault, nobody's fault. It don't matter. I'm gonna blow your head off.
It's like looking in the mirror for Kamala. So, some radical positions, either reversed on paper by the rando nameless spokesperson or seemingly disavowed by new messaging, and boom, we're off to the races. Done. Now it was time for an interview. Took about a month for her to finally do it, and the lucky recipient, CNN's Dana Bash. By the way, that's another person whose name gets mispronounced, and it's not racist. Big opportunity. Big. Lots to discuss. CNN's ratings are in the toilet. So this is a chance to show everyone you're not actually in the tank for Team Blue. Do your thing. You're a serious journalist who will hit Kamala Harris just as hard as you did J.D. Vance, who you've had on your show many times, and you continuously, routinely go round and round with him. You're tough. Let's go, Dana. So she gets Kamala Harris there next to her emotional support governor, Tim Walz. And Dana Bash does the thing. She asks about the all-important fracking reversal. This is going to be the first time we're going to hear her explain it on camera and directly as opposed through the rando. This is exciting.
When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
Wait, what? No. In 2020, she participated in a vice presidential debate against Mike Pence and said Joe Biden, who was at the top of her ticket, would not ban fracking. Surely you know that, Dana Bash. Surely you've done your homework, since this is a very big interview, her first as the nominee, and you studied her earlier statements on fracking, a subject you have chosen to raise. And you know that other paper statement through the rando spokesperson is all we've gotten, that she's never disavowed anything directly, and this is our chance to find out all about it. Let's check in and see whether she was cross-examined, held to account, and how things actually went between them from there.
How much we really care. I hear your voice inside me. I see your face everywhere. Still you say we belong to
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly how it looked. The genders were a little off, but that's exactly what we saw. A full-on love fest between the two of them. Okay, but look, these attempted disavowals of her earlier positions on paper or by theatrical performances were not enough to win a presidential race. She was going to need some affirmative policies. She tried one. She would stop price gouging at the grocery stores. This was the way to fight inflation. Yes, Sheriff Kamala would now police the Piggly Wiggly and make sure their prices were to her liking. That sounded exciting, sounded promising, until the Washington Post, the paper of record for the left, called it communist. Not great. But there was more. A sexy new proposal designed to lure in those Las Vegas, Nevada service workers.
and eliminate tax
taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
So good, but also kind of familiar. 4 months earlier.
Hotel workers and people that get tips, you're going to be very happy, because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips.
Oh, that's embarrassing. Okay, so after Dana Bash, she sits down with Stephanie Ruhle of MSNBC. Many people wondered, why Stephanie Ruhle? This is not like the go-to choice for most people looking to ascend to prominence. And then it quickly became clear as this soundbite emerged from the week prior.
I just said I'm not going to vote for her. Is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
The problem that a lot of people have with Kamala is we don't know her answer to anything, okay?
But you know his answer to everything.
And I don't think it's a lot to ask her to sit down for a real interview as opposed to a puff piece in which she describes like her feelings of growing up in Oakland with nice lawns.
Then I would just say to that, when you move to Nirvana, give me your real estate broker's number and I'll be your next door neighbor. We don't live there.
Oh, makes sense. Ruhle used her time with Kamala Harris wisely. A few pressing questions on Harris's economic plans, and then...
Have you served 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, working at a McDonald's? Yes or no? That's it.
I have.
Okay.
Your media, America. Everything Kamala said seemed tightly scripted or painfully stilted. When reporters shouted questions to her that would have required an off-the-cuff response, she sounded like a Stepford wife, programmed and empty.
How are you feeling about Pennsylvania?
I am feeling very good about Pennsylvania because there are a lot of people in Pennsylvania who deserve to be seen and heard.
Oh my God. Why couldn't she just answer questions or ad-lib a thought? Interact with voters. Oh, wait, we know why. We had 4 years with Kamala Harris.
So Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
I have a particular fondness, I must tell you, for electric school buses. I love electric school buses. I was proud to introduce the first piece of legislation to electrify our nation's fleet of school buses. I'm excited about electric school buses. I love electric school buses. I just love them. Venn diagrams, those 3 circles, right? And then let's just see where they overlap. You will not be surprised because I have constructed a Venn diagram on this. Remember those 3 circles, how they overlap? I love Venn diagrams. So I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
Oh,
you know?
God.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
Oh, it's like so relieved she's not going to be in that office for 4 years. Okay, anyway, so here you've got to hand it to Kamala. When she became the nominee, the woman was obviously given, or dare I say, came up with her own lines. And man, did she get her new beloved lines down pat.
I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition. We have aspirations. We have dreams.
I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. So my plan is to build what I call an opportunity economy, which means giving people an opportunity to actually achieve those ambitions, those goals, and those dreams. And it's a future where we build what I call an opportunity economy, where America has an opportunity to do for our people what we know is part of our ambition, our dreams, our aspirations. I will always put the middle class and working families first. I come from the middle class. I come from the middle class. I know what I'm talking about.
You don't say.
The nature of democracy is there are two sides to it in terms of the nature of it. There's a duality.
There's a duality to the nature of democracy. When it's intact, oh, it's so strong. And it is very fragile.
Okay. The problem is pre-rehearsed lines may help you through a debate, and they did. So did the ABC moderators. But sometimes they're not enough. Every once in a while, you're going to have to be subjected to a question that you have not anticipated with rote lines ready to be unleashed. And these moments for Kamala Harris were unmitigated disasters, like what happened on The View.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Despite all their planning, their message control, their attempts over and over to hide her weaknesses like her stupidity and inability to think in the moment, the act was ultimately doomed to fail. It's like the scene in Ice Castles where the champion ice skater Lexi goes blind and she doesn't want anyone to know. So Robbie Benson, who plays her boyfriend and coach, childhood crush, trains her to skate despite her blindness. And they come up with tricks so no one will be able to tell. And she does it. She nails the routine. No one knows her secret. And then...
We forgot about the flowers.
Forgot about the flowers. That was Kamala and her team when Sonny Hostin tried to throw flowers at her on The View. And instead they wound up tripping her just like Lexi. Stephen Colbert, too, threw his bouquet of roses at her. And here you can actually see Kamala Harris glitch.
Polling shows that a lot of people, especially independent voters, really want this to be a change election, and that they tend to break for you in terms of thinking about change. You are a member of the present administration. Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I know.
And so that would be one change in terms of... But also, I think it's important to say with 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump. And so when we think about the significance of what this next generation of leadership looks like, were I to be elected president, it is about, frankly,
Here it comes.
I love the American people, and I believe in our country. I love that it is our character and nature to be an ambitious
What would
people.
change?
We have aspirations, we have dreams, we have incredible work ethic, and I just believe that we can create and build upon the success we've achieved in a way that we continue to grow opportunity and in that way grow the strength of our nation.
Oh my God, they tried to defraud us into thinking this woman could be president. Look at that soundbite. The question was, what will change and what will stay the same? They forgot to prep her for this most basic question. And so she did something catastrophic. On The View, she answered it honestly. I have no new ideas. I have no plan. Welcome to the new boss. Same as the old boss. She's amazing. Thank God we dodged this bullet. The questions started getting harder as she ventured onto 60 Minutes, Fox News, and a town hall with CNN. Risky moves chosen because very clearly her internal polling was showing her losing, and she had to do something. Each of these interviewers zeroed in on our disastrous border, asking why old John Wayne there did nothing to fix it, notwithstanding her status prosecuting transnational gangs in a border state, nearly 4 years in office, absolutely nothing. She would say that she supported that crappy border bill that came very late in their term, but when pressed on why she did nothing for 3+ years, we got drivel like this.
Some voters, though, might ask, you've been in the White House for 4 years, you were vice president, not the president, but why wasn't any of that done the last 4 years?
Well, there was a lot that was done, but there's more to do, Anderson. And I'm pointing out things that need to be done, that haven't been done, but need to be done.
Look, is there a better Kamala Harris soundbite that sums up the problems of her candidacy? Like, I'm waiting. Is there? You can email me, Megyn at megynkelly.com. Like, you got a candidate? I put that up against anything. It became very clear this woman did not have policies, did not have a plan, a message, or any charm for voters to connect to. That she knew neither what to say nor in which accent to say it.
Have you no empathy, man?
Yes.
You know, for the suffering of other people. Have you no sense of purpose?
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time. You all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024. Hello to all my divine nine brothers and sisters. And my soror.
This is a margin of error race. It's tight. I'm going to win. I'm going to win. But it's tight.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. The path may seem hard, the work may seem heavy, but joy cometh in the morning, and church morning is on its way.
I'm going to win. You better believe it, my soror. So absurd. What an absurd person. She went on Howard Stern and made zero news. She went on a smutty sex podcast where they normally talk about dildos. That interview currently has less than 900,000 views. It was all about abortion, Harris's very favorite subject, and a big favorite of the sex podcasters, shocking, too. It never heated up, there was no climax, and to no one's surprise, no afterglow. The 60 Minutes interview went so poorly that the news team over there may never recover. Instead of showing us what really happened, they covered for her, shortening her indecipherable answers to make them less word salady, and they got caught. Remember, they got caught. The American public demanded that 60 release the full unedited transcript so we could see just how badly she had mangled her exchanges, and CBS refused to do it, destroying viewers' trust and CBS's credibility. She sat with Oprah Winfrey in what had to be the most insufferable interview of the campaign. In fairness, this one was due not to Harris so much, but to the sycophant Hollywood types literally surrounding her. Turns out many actors are not so good when they do not have a talented screenwriter, director, and editor helping them out.
Hello, President Harris.
Not yet.
Where are you, Jennifer? Yes! I want to bring my daughters to the White House to meet this black woman president. That's a reason. That's a reason. That's the reason.
This has become such a global representation of our country and what we stand for. And I get to travel internationally a lot. And
you're so
important. Want people to say, oh, you're American? And not, oh, how's it going over there?
I think you're going to win.
Okay, Jeffrey Dahmer.
I'm sure you're going to win.
Oh, Meryl, wrong again.
But what happens when you win and he doesn't accept it.
I guess we'll never know. And then there was Oprah, who decided to switch up her acting routine from that terrible Meghan Markle interview. Remember? What? Wait, what? They wanted to know how dark your baby was going to be? From merely overly dramatic and fake to full-on Sam Kinison.
How about filling us in as to what the fuck it is? We'll do it if we know what it is. Put a helmet on that soldier. Put a helmet on him.
No, actually, watch.
Thanks for joining us for this very special event, Unite for America! Where are you? Chris Rock is in the house. Jennifer Lopez! Where are you, Jennifer? Yes! Julia Roberts, where are you? And Miss Meryl Streep is in the house. Please welcome Kamala Harris!
Does she live with the hearing impaired? Next to a leaf blower factory? Did she attend too many Metallica concerts as a young person? Why was she yelling at us? Amazingly, you're going to be shocked to learn the yelling did not move the needle in the polls. Did not help. So Harris moved on to real celebrities. Got the endorsements from Taylor Swift, Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B. Just as Mark Cuban was lecturing us that the sexist jerk Trump never surrounds himself with strong, intelligent women, Harris has Cardi B show up at a rally and endorse her. Cardi B, who once tweeted, "I wonder how pee tastes like." Amazingly, no bounce. Mark Rachel Maddow Cuban, he endorsed Bradley Whitford, Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, Julia Roberts, George Clooney, Beyonce. Not one of them got her a bounce. They all failed miserably. No one moved the needle because they have no influence. None in this lane. Zero. Not Bill Clinton, not Barack, not Michelle. No one improved her numbers. Meanwhile, the press sneered and laughed at Trump's Hulk Hogan, Dana White, Kid Rock, and Dennis Quaid endorsements. All of these guys, beloved by working class Americans, all of them spoke for Trump with humor, fun, kindness, and relatability. None overacted. Looking at you, J-Lo.
We should be emotional. We should be upset. We should be scared and outraged. We should. Our pain matters. We matter. You matter. Your voice and your vote matters. And look, don't be afraid to make people around you uncomfortable.
I'm uncomfortable watching that fake acting. The press made fun of the Trump guys. They mocked them because they and the liberal elite in the Democrat Party really do hate the right half of the country. They hate them. They agreed with Hillary on deplorables, with Barack on bitter clingers. They saw no problem with Joe Biden calling Trump supporters garbage or with Tim Walz calling them Nazis. This is why they won't have Thanksgiving with us now. We voted for Hitler, so it's done. In the waning days of the campaign, the New York Times and the Atlantic trotted out John Kelly, who now, for the first time on the record and in his own voice, called Trump a fascist. Oh, fascist porn. Stop the presses. It was a claim that Harris agreed with on CNN.
You've quoted General Milley calling Donald Trump a fascist. You yourself have not used that word to describe him. Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Game changer. or not. Liz Cheney, who's never been the answer to anyone's problems, became a fixture on the campaign trail with Harris. To whom does she appeal again, exactly? The lying ramped up as virtually everyone in media and on Team Harris called Trump the fascist word, called him a white supremacist, a white nationalist, a Nazi, and so on. That pause in Hitler comparisons after Trump was shot in the head lasted about 2 minutes, and then they went right back to it. The good people on both sides lie resurfaced, from Barack Obama no less. Harris and Walz peddled it too. The bloodbath lie, the dictator lie, people pretending to be journalists, hysterical on the air, saying women will die if Trump is reelected, like Mika Brzezinski.
We are fighting 24/7. We're in crisis. These are the final hours. We need you. We need you, and all of you to vote. Yes. This is the moment, and we won't have it again. This is the final hour for women. Trump's America for women is happening now, and it's a nightmare. This is the future that we're looking at. He is killing us. I'm talking about us women. He's killing us.
Wow. You see, the left, Mika, they're all about women's rights. Except when it comes to the nanny, first gentleman wannabe, Doug Emhoff, allegedly cheated with on his first wife behind her back and then impregnated and then allegedly did something to her that caused her to lose the pregnancy. So reports the Daily Mail. He denied it, but he admitted the affair. Or when it comes to the ex-girlfriend he beat, he denied it. She came out in the Daily Mail and gave a first-person account with witnesses. Or when it comes to Laken Riley and others like her, who get killed in the prime of their life by illegals from Venezuela. Or when it comes to Peyton McNabb and girls like her, who get traumatic brain injuries from trans players. Would you just be nice and be tolerant and let them play and shut your girl up if she doesn't like it? It's too bad she has to be paralyzed. Be kind. The Chloe Coles, who have their breasts chopped off by radical trans activist doctors who look at her like a payday. She'll be in the system for life. Mika cares deeply about women like that. On those women, the truth is the left has nothing to say other than to shame them into silence. Harris and team reportedly realized that the Trump ad on the trans issue was crushing her. Bill Clinton urged her to respond. Old Bubba knows an actual controversy when he sees one. She didn't listen. Reportedly, they cut a few responsive ads, but nothing resonated with the audience before whom they tested it. And instead of innovating, they abandoned the fight. Honestly, what could they say? It was true, and she still believes in that radicalism and was too afraid of her left flank to say otherwise. Harris skipped the traditional and beloved Al Smith dinner in New York before a host of prominent American Catholics. The last presidential candidate to do so was Walter Mondale, and we all know how that wound up. She snubbed Joe Rogan, too, who offered her an opportunity before his enormous audience, saying she was too busy. She was too busy. But there's a report. Here again, she was afraid of alienating her leftist base. Trump accepted the Rogan invitation. Joe Rogan, who at least 4 years ago voted for Bernie Sanders, but Trump went there anyway. And that interview has since gotten over 50 million views and landed in a Rogan endorsement. Kamala did SNL, which ended with a thud. She got the New York Times to print a bunch of nonsense about women voters flocking to the polls in early voting in Pennsylvania. Ann Seltzer of Iowa tried to throw a lifeline with a bullshit poll driven by dreams, not data. Alan Lichtman, the so-called Nostradamus of presidential predictions, embarrassed himself and later blamed sexism and racism for his faulty predictions about what Americans would do. And American voters who had been lied to, dodged, insulted, and manipulated by a terrified campaign and a dishonest, complicit media headed to the polls in droves. Young, old, white, black, Latino, Asian, Jewish, Muslim, male, and female. They saw right through the BS and the spin, the dire warnings and the drama, the horrific warnings and the catastrophizing, and did the most extraordinary thing. They pulled the lever for Donald J. Trump. He won because inflation is really hurting people. He won because the open border is costing American lives. He won because the trans insanity has gone too far. He won because Americans trust him to break up a system that has been working against them. Because he has a sense of humor. Because he's self-deprecating. Because he went to McDonald's and drove a garbage truck. Because he's strong to the point of being nearly superhuman. Because he never gave up, despite all the lawfare. Because he faced down a bullet and said, fight, 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 while still bleeding. And he won because he ran against a uniquely terrible opponent. Whether the media will be honest about her or not. An empty-headed know-nothing. An actress who should never have been a senator or vice president, who failed upward to enormous power, and who should exit the national scene in January, understanding her hubris and lack of self-awareness cost her party everything. Thank you for joining me. See you soon.